Hello students, welcome back to Narayana Digital Classes. Today we will be solving the assignment number 40 on the topic thermodynamics. Let's move on to the assignment. Here the first question, in exothermic reaction, right, they have given the relations which are related to enthalpy of products and enthalpy of reactants. So in which relation is suitable for the exothermic reaction? We know that enthalpy is a heat absorbed, the amount of heat the system contains at constant temperature and pressure, that is called enthalpy. That means the absorbance of heat, we can say that the absorbance of heat is also called as enthalpy. But the exothermic reaction is in which reaction we can observe the evolution of heat. So for endothermic reaction, delta H, that is enthalpy, is positive. For exothermic reaction, the delta H is negative, right? So here, when will we get the negative sign in terms of products and reactants? So if they give enthalpy of products and reactants, the enthalpy of the delta H will be enthalpy of products minus enthalpy of reactants, right? Enthalpy of products minus enthalpy of reactants. Whenever the enthalpy value of product is less than the enthalpy of reactants, then the reaction will be the exothermic reaction. So the condition is HP, the enthalpy of products, less than enthalpy of reactants, right? So which option is this? That is second option, which they have given enthalpy of reactants greater than enthalpy of products. So in that case only the reaction will be the exothermic reaction, right? Let's move on to the next question. So the question, the reaction which process with evolution of heat is called? So just now we have discussed in your chemical reaction, if you observe evolution of heat, that kind of reactions is generally called as exothermic reactions. So in generalized life, in daily life, we can observe an exothermic reaction, that is respiration, in which the glucose is converted into the whatever the food we are taking. That food is react with oxygen, it will produce the carbon dioxide as well as heat and energy. So that respiration is, we can tell as a exothermic reaction. So in exothermic reaction, the heat evolution we can observe. So the reaction which proceeds with evolution of heat is called exothermic reaction, that is first option. Let's move on to the next question. Here the question, which of the following is an endothermic reaction, right? So what is endothermic reaction? So in a chemical reaction, that heat is absorbed by the system from the surroundings. That reaction is called as endothermic reaction, right? So in this reaction, the reactants will absorb the heat and it will release the products, right? So absorbance, the sign for the energy is negative sign, right? If you see here, the first option, N2 react with 3H2, it will produce that 2NH3, right? It will give that 2NH3. The energy is losing, that is heat energy is losing 92 kilojoule per. So here the negative sign indicates the evolution. So evolution is the exothermic reaction, right? When you see the second option, N2 plus O2 gives rise to 2NO. In this reaction, plus 180.80 kilojoule heat energy is absorbing. So that is the endothermic reaction, right? So the second option is the correct option. When you see the third and fourth options, in the after product, they are releasing the heat energy, right? So if release the heat energy, that is exothermic reaction. So the one and only second reaction, which is endothermic reaction. Let's move on to the next question. Here the question, which of the following is an example of exothermic reaction. So what is the exothermic reaction? In a chemical reaction, we can observe the evolution of heat energy. That is called exothermic reaction. So in which they have given 4 options, right? So we know that for exothermic reaction, delta H equal to negative, right? For exothermic reaction, delta H equal to negative. For endothermic reaction, delta H equal to positive, right? If you see here, H2 plus Cl2 gives rise to 2Cl. There they have given delta H equal to minus 184.6 kilojoule. Here the evolution of heat will be represented with the positive sign, right? So the second option, N2 plus O2 gives rise to 2NO, that is delta H equal to 180 kilojoule per mole. So they have given the energy in terms of positive sign, that is the exothermic reaction. So the correct option is first option. Clear? Because delta H equal to negative charge. If you see the third and fourth options, in the third option they have given minus 1314 kilojoules. There this negative sign indicates the absorbance of energy. So that is endothermic reaction. And the same time C plus O2S, that is gives rise to CS2, right? So in this the reactants are absorbing energy. So that is also endothermic reaction. So the correct option is first option. Clear? Let's move on to the next question. Here they have given some information. The total heat content of system at constant temperature and pressure is called enthalpy. So this enthalpy is a state function as well as a extensive property. So it is calculated as the sum of energy and the product of pressure and volume. So enthalpy formula is H equal to U plus PV. H equal to U plus PV, right? So it is impossible to determine the absolute value of enthalpy. So we can always determine the energy change, enthalpy change, that is delta H. Our process can be calculated delta H equal to delta U plus P delta V, that is work, right? So for finite changes at constant temperature, we can write equation. Delta H equal to delta U plus P delta V. In exothermic reaction, enthalpy of products less than enthalpy of reactants, then delta H will be negative. For endothermic reaction, delta H enthalpy of products greater than enthalpy of reactants, then delta H equal to positive, right? So there, how can we calculate the enthalpy change? So enthalpy change, they have given the formula delta RH naught equal to sigma of delta FH naught products minus sigma of sum of the enthalpy of products minus sum of the enthalpy of reactants. So here the question is, for a chemical change, for a chemical reaction involving only aqueous solutions, right? For a chemical reaction involving only aqueous solutions, right? So they have given different relations, right? So he said that aqueous relation, we need to find the relation between delta H and delta E, right? So the difference between delta H and delta E we can find by a formula, that is delta H equal to delta E plus delta N RT, right? So here delta N equal to number of gaseous molecules which are present in the reactants and products, right? So here the statement, the condition which has given is only aqueous solutions. Only aqueous solutions. For aqueous solution, delta N equal to 0, right? If delta N equal to 0, then delta H will be equal to delta E, since delta N equal to 0. So the delta N only applicable for the gaseous molecules of your reactants and product. But here they have taken the aqueous solution, which are liquids, right? So we cannot find the significant delta H and delta E for these liquids and solids, but we can find the significant delta H and delta V for the gaseous molecule. So here for a chemical reaction involving only aqueous solution, that is delta H equal to delta E. Second option. Let's move on to the next question. Here the question, which of the following reaction has the delta H greater than delta E? So the condition is delta H greater than delta E. So we can find the relation between delta H and delta E by using this formula, delta H equal to delta H equal to delta E plus delta N RT. So where delta N equal to delta N equal to number of gaseous molecules which are in reactants and products, right? So that is difference between number of gaseous molecules of products and number of gaseous molecules of reactants, right? Here now see the options. The first option, H2 gas react with Cl2 and it will produce 2 HCl gas. There delta N equal to 0. Delta N equal to 0. If delta N equal to 0, then delta H equal to delta E. So since delta N equal to 0, right? If delta N equal to positive, then delta H greater than delta E, since delta N positive, right? The third relation is delta H less than delta E, where delta N negative. Now see which reaction has the delta N positive, right? The first reaction has the delta N equal to 0, and second reaction here C plus O2 gives rise to CO2. Here the delta N is also 0. And the third reaction 2SO2 plus O2 gives rise to 2SO3. Here the delta N will be negative. And the last reaction, the delta N will be positive, right? So if delta N will be positive, then the delta H greater than delta E. The change in enthalpy is greater than the change in energy. So the correct option is fourth option. Let's move on to the next question. Here the question, the difference in delta H and delta E for the reaction. So they have given a reaction, BaCl2 aqueous solution react with K2SO4 of aqueous solution. It will produce the BaSO4 of solid and KCl of aqueous solution, right? For this we need to find the difference in delta H and delta E for the reaction. We know that we can find the difference between delta H and delta E for significant for the gaseous molecules only, but not the liquids and solids, right? So here the reaction, all the reactants and products are present in solids and liquids. For this, the relation between delta H and delta E is the 0. So the correct option is third option. Clear? So with this, I come to the end of the session. Thank you very much.